Alright, welcome back to Nick Lenz Comic Corner, Classic Legends Known Classics. This is episode number 3146, Doubleshot 3040. First up, and both these books are about Blood Hunt tie-in books. First up we have Blood Hunt Dracula. Love that logo, I love that cover. This book contains the Blood Hunt Dracula miniseries, which is 3 issues, and it also contains Blood Hunt Union Jack. The Union Jack one is the current Union Jack, where, of course, he deals with vampires in the UK. And the writer completely forgets the fact he has encountered vampires before, and they can't bring him on 13 book. By the way, Danny Lore does the Dracula Blood Hunt miniseries, which is 3 issues, and Benicio Carrero does the artwork for that one. The Union Jack the Ripper Blood Hunt miniseries is by Calvin Scott, art by Kev Walker. That was a really fun miniseries. The Dracula Blood Hunt one is simple as this. The adventures of Dracula and Breely fighting vampires during Blood Hunt. Yeah. And they reluctantly get along with each other. Because, of course, basically, Breely is the daughter of his arch nemesis. And, of course, you actually have this Dracula here with his son Zaris, who, by the way, in the Cursed Mutant story, he was the main bad guy. Yes. Yeah. And of course, Breely basically finds out about the whole stuff related to what happens to her story. Of course, she tries to take Carter off. Like, damn. There's the extra Carter off her wall. And of course, you have Dracula fighting his own kin because Blade is controlling the vampires because he is possessed by apparently an old vampire. And a lot of this miniseries simply Dracula and Breely working together, which by the way, this miniseries is referenced in the main book. I kind of wish this actually was shown in the main miniseries, not just shoved to a tie-in, because this book is awesome. I like this book. It is very interesting. I like the chemistry they have between the two characters. Daniel himself does an excellent job writing this book, and it is a shame they couldn't have this total main tie-in. Nope, they just had. By the way, aside from Blade and Breely, is like anybody else here? Yes, we actually have frickin' Daredevil show up here, which is awesome. Now, Daredevil is interesting because he has never met Blade. Nope. But somehow he just happened here in the area, so why not? As far as I can tell, I'm sure Daredevil knew about Dracula, but I'm sure he never fought before with this miniseries, which is nice. But really fun miniseries. And I like the Union Jack one, so I get this book a 9 out of 10. Next up we have is Blood Hunters. This was an anthology book. This actually is first volume. And then for some reason I released another volume of Blood Hunters as a mini-series where Blood Hunters was an actual book. Yeah, so it's an anthology book. So if you have a list of Bloodstone, Cloak, Hawkeye, yes, Hawkeye, and a bunch of characters. You have The City Never Sleeps by Mark Russell, Chris Cage's Blood Relations. Then we have Once More in Darkness, which is a story that runs the whole book. Then by Erica Sanchez. And the Will is Carrie Andrews, writes the one. And the Centaur, one of the stories in here. We forget to drink. Sean Keeley McKeever does Lord and Savior. Fall of the House of Utter is Joshua Chirleco, who was the writer of Blue Beetle, Life and Chef, Fame Caesar, and Santana and the Blood Bar by Mary Sabani. The artwork here is done by Bob Quinn, Harbor Gerson, Bernard Chang, Alex Linz, Dave Bolden, Bernard Chang, well, Bernard Chang gets pretty much the backstory here, Lamania, Claire Rowe, Patrick Zurcher, and Glinda Gaida Balivo. So we start off with a book. The first issue here is all about Hawkeye, which of course is set right after the Blackwood Hawkeye miniseries, where like Yeah, cop spot. It's Clint Barton. And this is so funny. His disguise is a mustache. Yep. And he's one of the minutes of his own miniseries, and vampires show up, and of course takes out his bow. And he keeps he was like, yeah, let's basically be a badass and just basically follow a hot guy who has a mustache. You're like, okay. He's like the mustache, by the way. That's okay. That's kind of funny. Now, the next story is all about Jameson and his son John. Which, little fun fact, these two have not shared the screen time together in a comic book in years. I think the last time they ever did this, off the top of my head, they shared a comic together, was actually Dan Slott's Amazing Spider-Man book, where Spider-Man goes to space. And of course, then you have him turning the man-wolf and fighting vampires. And of course, he somehow blames Spider-Man for the fact he gave up his whole thing. He somehow threats menaces, which is quite nice. Good continuity now. That was something Nick Spencer did. And then, of course, next story is all about Dagger, Worker Lets the Blood. This is basically... I think this is the one that spreads the whole book. Yep. This is Once More in the Darkness. This is basically the main story that stretches the whole book. Then we have a short story here focused on the Hulk. Yes, a short story involving Hulk. I'm surprised this was not collected in the Incredible Hulk book. Yes. They did have the Hulk Bloodhunt one shot, but they don't have the story. I would have thought they would have, but they didn't. And they have next story focused on Kate Bishop. We Forget to Drink, and this is set prior to events of Avengers 14. And this is another story they could include in their trade paperback, but nope, they just shoved it in here. So basically, it's just Kate Bishop working with some tattoo guy. No, it's not Blade. It's a blood hunter. So, and it's all about hunting ghosts. It's a weird book. And then back to the main book here, where you have Frankenstein's monster and Leslie Blood stuff fighting a vampire, which is interesting. Yep. And then they run into, I kid you not, Yelena, the White Widow, who's converted a vampire, but thanks to basically stuff like that, she gets turned back. And then for some reason, the next book is basically all about this woman with red hair who ends being saved by Doctor Doom. Yes, because it's vampires Latveria. That's what I say. Then we have another story here involving a vampire cow. Yes, a vampire cow just kills people. Only in this one story here, it's like, okay, interesting. It's called Hellcalf. Of course, the guy gets bit by a vampire. It's a really pointless story. And then we have Dagger get turned into a vampire, though she ever turned back. And then this part ends with Janie Grimble, aka Hallows Eve, Ben Riley's girlfriend, who it was meant to be the replacement for Mary Jane Watson in the 90s. And Life of a Shadow focuses on, I kid you not, this story focuses on the Silver Surfer. You're like, really? The Silver Surfer? I'm like, that's awesome. And he goes to Dark Force Dimension. You're thinking, wait, that name sounds familiar. Yes, the same location where Diary is from Rom. And I'm thinking that and then of course basically we have people associated with Dark Force, including Cloak, Hunter's Moon, Darkstar, and Silhouette. It's like, Silhouette, Silver Surfer here, and you know me? You're among the valiant heroes one system Fantastic Four against Terrax. Yep. So, yeah, he basically is in Dark Dimension deal with the stealth of the New Warriors. I'm like, that is quite interesting. I love the story here, and then the story wraps a nice little bow. And then next story focuses on Tana. But in the last several years, because she's Satan's daughter, let's basically give her horns, despite the fact she originally had horns. And I run her blood bow, which I think debuted in Strike Force. It's mostly with vampires attacking her club and her fighting out vampires. I'm like, that's awesome. And I finally continue with Hollow's Eve, who basically, she had a, playing with others. And we have the ladies here, of course, Spider-Man's here. Because if Dagger puts everything out, everything gets wrapped up. But the thing is, these 4 were later seen in the Blood Hunters miniseries. And that's it. Great. Oh, then we continue with the Hallows Eve one-shot. Hallows Eve, big night. Erica Sanchez, this one basically is all about Hallows Eve. This is basically what she was up to prior to seeing this miniseries. With her basically thinking she's Captain America, runs into some mass thing. Oh yeah, she thinks it's the Hulk and what their characters are. Really interesting book. It's like a Halloween book per se. But overall, really good. Yep. So yeah, that is pretty much it. Particular review. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications. Next up we have is basically Demon 20 Night. Okay, next video. Bye.